Hello, and welcome. I'm glad you've joined me today. As a physician who has spent decades studying the intersection of aging, physiology, and longevity, I often hear the same phrase from my patients over the age of 60. Doctor, I stay active, I walk every single day. Now, let me be clear, walking is a wonderful habit. It is excellent for your cardiovascular health, it clears the mind, and it is certainly better than a sedentary lifestyle. However, if we are speaking candidly about clinical outcomes, functional independence, and the reversal of biological aging, I have to tell you something that might come as a surprise. Walking is simply not enough. In fact, relying solely on walking after the age of 60 can often lead to a false sense of security while your muscle mass and bone density continue to decline quietly in the background. Today, I want to discuss why we need to move beyond the stroll and embrace specific forms of exercise that are objectively better than walking for your long-term health. We're going to look at the science of sarcopenia, the mechanics of bone loading, and the vital importance of neuromuscular coordination. The primary reason walking falls short as we age is a condition we call sarcopenia. This is the age-related loss of skeletal muscle mass and strength. Starting in our 30s, we begin to lose about 3 to 5% of our muscle mass per decade, and this rate accelerates significantly after 60. Walking is a steady-state aerobic activity. It keeps your heart beating, but it does very little to challenge your muscles to grow or even to maintain their current size. To combat sarcopenia, we need resistance. The first and most important alternative to walking is progressive resistance training, or strength training. Many of my patients are intimidated by the idea of lifting weights at 70. But in the medical community, we view resistance training as a form of medicine. When you perform a squat, for example, you're not just exercising your legs. You are engaging your entire posterior chain, stabilizing your core, and, most importantly, putting a healthy stress on your femur and hip joints. This stress signals your osteoblasts to build more bone, which is the only way to effectively combat osteoporosis. If you want to keep your bones strong, walking a flat path isn't the answer. You need the vertical loading that comes from resistance exercises. I recommend my patients start with bodyweight movements that mimic daily life. Consider the sit-to-stand exercise. It sounds simple, but performing 3 sets of 10 controlled transitions from a chair to a standing position is far more beneficial for your functional mobility than a 30-minute walk. It builds the quadriceps and gluteal strength required to get out of a car, climb stairs, or recover your balance if you trip. As you progress, adding even small hand weights or resistance bands creates a stimulus that walking simply cannot replicate. We want to achieve hypertrophy, the growth of muscle fibers, which is the ultimate insurance policy against frailty. The second area where walking fails us is in the realm of balance and proprioception. Proprioception is your body's ability to sense its location, movements, and actions. As we age, the communication between our brain and our limbs can slow down. Walking is a repetitive, linear movement. Your brain essentially goes on autopilot. However, falls are the leading cause of injury-related hospitalizations for seniors. To prevent falls, we need to challenge our stability. This is why I highly recommend disciplines like Tai Chi or dedicated balance training over just walking. Tai Chi involves slow, deliberate shifts in weight and rotational movements that require the brain to constantly recalibrate your center of gravity. Clinical studies have shown that seniors who engage in balance-specific training reduce their risk of falling by up to 50%. Another simple exercise you can do at home is the tandem stance, standing with one foot directly in front of the other as if on a tightrope. These exercises force the small stabilizer muscles in your ankles and hips to fire, something that doesn't happen when you're walking on a predictable sidewalk. The third pillar of a superior post-60 routine is dynamic mobility.
I hope that animation clarifies.
Many people confuse this with static stretching, like reaching for your toes and holding it. While that has some benefit, dynamic mobility, moving your joints through their full range of motion, is what keeps you from feeling stiff. Walking involves a very limited range of motion for the hips and shoulders. Over time, the tissues shorten and your gait becomes narrow and shuffled. Instead, I encourage you to look into functional flow, movements, or modified yoga. Exercises like the bird dog or cat-cow help maintain the health of your spinal discs and the flexibility of your hip flexors. If you lose the ability to rotate your torso or extend your hips, your walking form will suffer,
along with
leading to
improved
back
hip
pain
extension,
and knee issues.
transitioning.
By prioritizing mobility, you are ensuring that the miles you do walk are high-quality miles, performed with correct biomechanics. Finally, we must address intensity. There is a common misconception that once you hit 60, you should avoid getting your heart rate up too high. On the contrary, short bursts of higher intensity movement, what we call modified HIIT, are incredibly beneficial for metabolic health and insulin sensitivity. Walking at a leisurely pace doesn't often push the heart into the zones required to strengthen the cardiac muscle itself. I often suggest interval walking or swimming. Instead of a steady pace, try walking as fast as you possibly can for 60 seconds, then resting for 2 minutes. This stresses the heart in a controlled way, making it more resilient. Now, I understand that starting a new regimen can be daunting. The goal is not to become a bodybuilder or a professional athlete. The goal is to be a functional human for as long as possible. When I design a program for a patient in their 60s or 70s, I suggest a balanced approach. 2 days of resistance training to protect the muscles and bones. 2 days of balance and mobility work to prevent falls, and perhaps 1 or 2 days of walking for mental health and basic cardiovascular maintenance. Nutrition, of course, must go hand in hand with this. You cannot build muscle on a low-protein diet. As your doctor, I would tell you that if you start these more demanding exercises, you must increase your intake of high-quality proteins to provide the building blocks your body needs to repair itself. In conclusion, please do not stop walking. It is a beautiful part of a healthy life. But please, do not let it be the only thing you do. Your body is a biological machine that operates on the principle of use it or lose it. Walking uses very little of your potential. To truly age with grace, strength, and independence, you must challenge your muscles, test your balance, and push your range of motion. Invest in your strength today, and your future self will thank you for the mobility, the bone density, and the confidence to keep moving through the world with ease. Thank you for listening, and please take that first step toward a stronger version of yourself today. Stay healthy, stay active, and stay informed.